this tutorial, I'll show you how to create realistic light rays using BCC Rays Puffy in Adobe After Effects. Hi, here I am in After Effects 2014, and you can see the end result here. Very realistic, natural looking light rays coming from the isolated part of the sky in the background there. Okay, so let's get started and begin with a new comp. So going to bring this art beats footage into a new composition. You can see the source footage has no light rays in the background. So I'm going to start by applying BCC Rays Puffy. Default settings, you get a very colorful, noticeable light rays burst coming from the center point here. It's a very cool effect. I like it a lot. You can change the hue, of course, length and intensity using on-screen controls. And now that I've pointed those out to you, I'm going to hide them because I don't want to use them this time. But they're there and they're great. Alright, so what we want to do is first motion track the light center so it matches the motion of our shot. And we can do that using AE's motion tracker, but I'm going to use the built-in motion tracker because this allows me to save my motion data when I'm done and apply it in other effects or even other hosts if they have the same filter. Now, I could try to track the clouds, but they're low contrast. You know, I might have to stop and restart again. So I'm going to track the object closest to the clouds, which is these lights in the distance. So nothing to it. I'm just going to hit spacebar and play through the clip. This is going to take a while, so I'll skip to when it's done. And we're back. So here you can see my motion path, this little blue line, and you can see that it tracked very well. I did reposition it maybe once or twice, but not too bad. So what I'm going to do is go to Apply and select Light Source. So now our light rays will match the motion of the background. It makes a big difference. Okay, but we have our lights coming from exactly where we tracked. We want them to come from the clouds. So we can offset the motion path. Just go to Offset Y and, you know, raise it high enough so that it looks like the rays are coming down. For this shot, I think something like -0.3 or 4 works really well. And yeah, we'll work from that. That should be pretty good. Look how we get that nice shadow coming off the building. Oh, I love that little touches like that. Just make it look really cool. Anyway, so now we don't need to see the motion path, so hide that. And you may have noticed we're getting light from weird places. Like we're getting it from above the clouds, we're getting it from the tops of the buildings. It's coming from, you know, too many sources basically. So what I'm going to do is use our pixel chooser to limit where the light is coming from. And there's two major methods in the pixel chooser to choose from. So you have region and matte. So region relies on geometric shapes. So you can see here, if I turn the HUD back on, so this is like a rectangle that we can just use to mask where the light exists. So I'll go ahead and do that for the sky area. And there's a region blend in here. I'll just turn that down a bit. And I could also use AE masks for this, by the way. But since it's such a simple rectangle, I'll just do it with the built-in one. Next, I'm going to limit the colors that generate light. So I have got a matte channel here. You can use Luma. Luma works very well, of course, being a light filter. And if I say View Chosen Pixels, I get a black and white matte of what is being read. And I can adjust these thresholds here to make it a harder matte, which is what I want to do. Actually, for this particular effect, threshold works really well. So I can use the Luma, but since the clouds aren't just straight gray, I'm going to use HSL difference. I'll just say View Matte Source, so I can get a clean palette here. Oop. And I'm going to use this sort of pinkish, orangish color from the clouds. And let's see how that looks. Change my view mode back to View Chosen Pixels. Okay, and that looks like it's picking up almost exactly where I want for all the clouds. I just adjust the threshold a bit to see if I can get it a little better. And that looks good. And I can blur the matte too if it's too hard, but that looks good. And because this is QHSL difference, if I want to use this color, I say invert matte. And now that's the source rather than the exception. Okay, so I did all that. I go back to on, and it still looks kind of weird, doesn't it? Like it's bright, but it's not causing the light rays to go from that point. It's just masking them. So to change the behavior of the pixel chooser from a mask to source light, just come to pixel chooser target and select source light. So now the area we've blocked off is the only part that will generate rays. And what's cool about this is, let's say I go back into my ray length and make it much longer. See, I can still get these rays to appear outside of that rectangle area. So that's one of the really cool things about the pixel chooser. It lets you play around with the source light and still have it affect the rest of the image naturally. Okay, speaking of natural, we need to change these colors so they look a little better. You could use the image as your color source, or you can use these colorize gradients, which you can fully customize yourself, and we load lots of presets with them. Reds looks really good on this one. It's the one I used in the first shot you saw. I'm actually going to go back to image though for this. I'm going to go really subtle on this one. And they're a little hard to see, so we can make them more visible by changing the apply mode. Screen and add, of course, make them brighter. You could try to make them darker if you wanted, but I'm going to go with screen for this. And on top of that, you can go into the look and style drop downs, and you have a lot of different choices here too. Each one gives you a subtly different rays effect, but it can mean a huge difference for the feel of your effect. For this shot, I like tight bloom. I think that works really well. And when you change those, you probably want to go back and adjust your intensity and your length again, just to make sure it looks as good as it can. Actually, I think I had perfect settings before, but you know, good rule of thumb. Okay, and that's it. So we created really natural looking light rays on our footage in just a couple minutes using the pixel chooser in BCC Rays Puffy. Now, a lot of our filters have these options, the pixel chooser, the motion tracker, and you can do a lot of fun stuff with them. So to learn more, you can download a trial version and see more tutorials at our website, and that's borisfx.com.